Hey, so I thought I'd just make a quick response to Jericho movie before I go to work today. And I talked about the scientific method, and you can't really apply that to something like a psychedelic experience. And I guess I don't want to confine the subject too I don't want to confine the subject too much to psychedelics. Because I've been talking, I think, more about meditation, fasting, things like that. But the point is, okay, so you can't apply the scientific method to experience like that. Well, not in the same way, but I want to talk about what I call the spiritual method. It is based on the scientific method. It's not quite the same. That the rules of falsifiability work a little bit differently here. But here's the point. What I draw from a psychedelic experience or from you know from any sort of meditative experience or anything like that is not the actual physical experience itself, but the meaning from it. The meaning is felt more profoundly than whatever visuals or auditory hallucinations you might have. These kind of experiences impart meaning in a way that is more profound than many day-to-day experiences. And so, and so I think what the problem with your interpretation is you're kind of taking, if I took this meaning as a conclusion in the scientific process, then yeah, that would be pretty unscientific. But for me, the meaning is a hypothesis, and so the sort of that sort of interpretation that I draw from these experiences is a hypothesis. And so how do I test this hypothesis? Through the very means that you're advocating, dialectic. I engage either in debate either with others or I read I read the texts of other authors, and study metaphysics and cosmology and theology and all these ideas that others have put forward, and test my ideas against that, see if they sort of make sense in the context, and then just like a scientist modifies their hypothesis, I'll modify my hypothesis based on it. I'll tell you that I don't interpret that psychedelic experience I talked about. I don't interpret it in quite the same way that I did at the time, but that doesn't mean it was false. It just means that it was a working hypothesis that I've modified as I've gained more information and studied the works of Whitehead or Ken Wilber or various other authors. So it still holds meaning for me, but the meaning has changed based on new information. So yeah, I'd agree. Dialectic is in fact a very useful tool for fleshing out one's ideas. But the point is, you don't go into a dialectic with nothing. You go in with experience. You go in with with your sort of life history and the sort of meaning you've drawn from experience and sort of the ideas that you've worked with before. And I think dialectic is sort of the equivalent of the scientific process of the scientific method for ideas that aren't strictly falsifiable in a scientific way, but you need sort of inputs to that dialectic before you can draw any sort of meaning out of that. So those are my thoughts on that for now. Peace.